Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to Bottle Rocket. I'm Alena here with Mave and Jerry. Hey guys.
I have a question
Hey,
for
Alena.
Jerry because I've been reading this wonderful book called Rebel League, whatever. I'm sorry, whatever. And I gather that our guest to be, when I will ask, I read standing on my head, but I read that. I'm going to have to ask this to Rick, that he didn't like Harry Neal. Now, my image, my interplay with Harry Neal was that this guy was the funniest guy in hockey. He had great one-liners, great one-liners. What was one of his famous one? You know you've made it in hockey when you look up at the out-of-town scoreboard and there are no other games. And a lot of other good lines. So I'm wondering, now we know, right? We know that the nicest guy in the world we had on the show last week was Tom Rennie, right? I don't know anybody who ever had a bad word to say about Tom Rennie. I would have if he didn't laugh at every one of my jokes, but he laughed at every single one of my jokes. So he was a gentleman and a humorist at the same time. And the other thing I should have asked Tom, and I hope we have him, are we going to have him back again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm a big guy on shoes, and Tom Rennie was wearing the most good-looking shoes game after game after game, and I think he got them at Florsheim. So that's going to be one of my Tom Rennie questions. So, what was your impression, Jerry, of Neil?
Harry Neal, well, he was responsible for the very first success of the Canucks, 74-75, when Gary Smith had an MVP type season and got us into the playoffs for the first time. That was Harry Neal. So, he's a legend in Vancouver. And you're right. He was the first coach to speak to the media after every game. There was no other coach in the league that would do it at that time. And so he was the very first. So some nights it was a tough show to do, and he'd come out and he'd say some inappropriate things, but and then he'd get fined for it. But you're right. My favorite line was that he said that we can't win at home and we can't win on the road. My only fault as coach is I can't figure out any other place to play. So he was great, and after his coaching career, he became an analyst, and he was great at that. And I got nothing bad to say about Harry Neal. He cared deeply about the Canucks, and he brought some pride to the city, with the way the Canucks played.
Do you read the Vancouver?
I gotta say too. I'm not sure. He wasn't responsible. I think it was the upper echelons of it. But they brought in a junior coach, Bill something, had great junior coach, and he hired him as the coach, and it was just it was the most brutal thing. He tried to bring junior tactics to the NHL, and it just didn't work. It was an unmitigated disaster, and I wish I could remember his name now. But he brought this PhD hockey, pride, hustle, desire, and he made players run around outside in their equipment, and he was just it was horrible. Yeah, but like I say, I don't think Harry was responsible for that. That was a decision made by people above his pay grade.
Do you read the Vancouver papers now?
Not regularly, but when we can afford one. Yeah.
Who's the big shot hockey writer?
Patrick Johnson is a beat writer for the Canucks, and he's excellent. Yeah, he's really good. He lets them have it when they deserve it. So that's what I like. you don't want your reporters just repeating the hockey team's press releases. They, you gotta dig deep and you gotta have an opinion. You can't be
Well,
afraid to have an opinion.
what is his opinion of the mess?
Um, well, I'm sure Bo Bichette is regretting going there. That's for sure.
Well, and what's happening with Toronto? Did they pick a coach yet?
No, not yet.
So
Yeah.
who do you want? Who do you want? You live there. Well, who do you want?
Well, I want Cooper, but he's not available.
He might be.
You
He
never
might-
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's rumors going around, but you never know.
Well,
But
he's been there a long, long time, so
that's
it
true.
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. They had a first round exit where they lost to a team that finished below them in the standings. So look,
I think he
you
will.
know, look at Ted Nolan. He won Coach of the Year and got fired. So uh,
Yeah.
stranger things have happened.
That would erase all the negativity that they had at the opening press conference when Steve Simmons nailed him right at the beginning. That would, because not only is Cooper competent, a winner, but he's got a wonderful image. He's got a way about him that I don't even think Steve would find. Well, Steve might find a flaw in him because nobody's perfect, but he would bring them the best by being himself. He'd bring them more positive publicity than any PR firm they could hire. So it would, and I'm sure he'd bring some of his Tampa Bay people with him. And you know what? It would be a good thing for the franchise.
Absolutely.
I would be a good thing for Tampa. I mean, you have a guy for almost a dozen years. You need a fresh face.
Yeah. Sometimes, you need a fresh voice in the locker room, and
Yeah,
it can
that's
get
another
still. Every
job
coach has
for
a shelf life,
Yeah. I
Every
just think
every coach.
I hope the Leafs act fast if Cooper becomes available, because they're not exactly known for making quick decisions. They tend to wait around a little too long.
Well, the thing is, though, Cooper would.
There he is. The man is here.
Hello.
The man is here.
We have Rick Vaive today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Rick, are you ready for questions?
Go ahead, shoot.
Okay, I want you to answer this. I'm going to give you a name, and I'm going to say good or bad, and you have to give me a good or bad about the guy. And the first guy is Harry Neal. Good or bad?
So-so.
I love that.
That's a Harry Neal answer. That's a great one. Okay, Jerry, it's yours. Your turn.
Hey, Rick, it's great to meet you. I'm wearing my Minnesota Fighting Saints shirt in your honor because you played in the WHA. So,
Oh, that's
I want to
right.
know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know about your junior career. You played in Sherbrooke, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And your first year there, you played with Jerry Gillis, who was also a Canucks
I
first
did.
round draft pick. I'm wondering if you were surprised that Jerry Gillis didn't have a more substantial NHL career, because he sure was a hot shot in junior.
Yeah. No, I was surprised. I think he moved around a little bit, and then I think after that he was stuntman in Hollywood, which is not surprising. He's big, tall, good-looking guy, so he could get that job.
What was more fun, playing in the crazy WHA or NHL? fun.
Oh, I had a lot of fun in Birmingham. There's no question about that. But I would say the NHL was much better to play in. It was a lot more fun. Uh, well, the exception of Harold Ballard.
As a player, how did you deal with a crazy guy like that? How did you handle him?
Uh, I just went about my business. Just, I mean, my job was to play hockey, not to run a team or anything. So that's all I did was I went out and I did my job.
You were the first Leaf ever to score 50 goals in a season, and you did it 3 times in a row. Did you realize at the time how historic it was?
No, it's funny because when I got to about 45, the press started asking me, like, what will it be like to be the first Maple Leaf to ever score 50 goals? And I thought, well, with all the great players they had before, I thought someone must have done it, but obviously they didn't. So um, I was the first, and I guess that's one thing they can never take away from me.
That's amazing. And what did it mean to you to wear the captaincy in Toronto?
It was pretty cool, but it was a young age. I remember Harold Ballard. It was after Darryl Sittler got traded to Philadelphia, and he just came up to me and he poked me in the chest and he said, "You're our captain." And I'm thinking, "Oh, wait a minute! I'm only 22 years old. I'm not sure I could do this." But I figured if I said no, he was going to trade me, and so I said yes, no problem.
When you were a kid, when you were 10 years old, which NHL team did you root for and why?
Well, it was a combination of the Boston Bruins and the Leafs because Hockey Night in Canada, but we also got a lot of Bruins games in PEI. They would show a lot of Bruins games, so it was kind of I was kind of torn between the two teams.
And which player did you look up to when you were growing up?
Actually, well, the only one that I really looked up to big time was Jean Beliveau. I just thought well, and I got to meet him a few times. He's such a gentleman, but not only that, he was a great hockey player. So I I like both things that he was a great hockey player and he was a great person. I wanted to be.
Over the years, particularly more recently, Rick, there is this aura about the Toronto media being very, very tough, right or wrong. That's the feeling. That's the thing that supposedly disturbed Mitch Warner. How tough was the media when you were a Leaf star?
It was still pretty tough, but at the same time, I mean, we didn't have TSN, we didn't have Sportsnet, all those outlets that put shows on to talk about the Leafs and everything. So we never had that, but we did have the newspaper, and I got the newspaper every day, every morning, and read it. There were sometimes things I didn't like what they said about me in the paper, but it didn't bother me because, like I said, I just went out and did my job.
Did you remember, was there a guy writing at the time named Dick Beddoes?
Yeah, and he also, I think he did a show on in Hamilton, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but he had a TV thing that he did as well.
He was one of my
like
favorite.
playing hockey.
I like
Sorry.
the guy. I like him.
Well, what was it like playing hockey in Alabama?
Yeah, he was okay. It was a little crazy. I mean, we probably averaged, I don't know, 10, 11,000 a game. And then, of course, when they had Bear Bryant night, it was sold out because he was such a legend in Alabama. And so it got sold out that night. But I'd say 11, 12,000 on average. And it was kind of different. I mean, you're in Alabama. I mean, you think about it, playing hockey in Alabama, that's a little crazy, but it was fun. We had a good time. John Brophy was the coach. He kept everything pretty light. And
And
it was,
you had a bunch
it
of
was,
other
for me, it was
nicknames, like
Henderson.
yeah.
Yeah, there were 6 of us. And there were, well, Michel Goulet was 18 and the rest of us were 19, the other 5. And so that was kind of nice that we had guys our own age. It kind of helped out quite a bit.
Team had a reputation of having some crazy guys. Can you name one?
I'm trying to think of his name. Frank Beaton. Frank
Seldom
Beaton
beaten.
was from Nova Scotia, and he was always named Frank Never Beaten until someone beat him one night, and then he was hardly ever beaten.
Who was the funniest teammate you ever had?
Oh, Bill DeLego by a country mile. He was the best man at my wedding, and he was hilarious. Like I remember one time John Brophy was coaching us, and Billy was coming back from an injury, and he told him, go in and ride the bike. So Billy got on the bike, and he had a cup of coffee in his hand, and Brophy walked in, and he said, if you're not going to try, he said, you may as well leave. He said, okay. He got up, walked out, and he said, I'll see you tomorrow.
Me and Jerry were just talking that you got drafted by Vancouver, and Jerry is a Vancouver Canucks fan, and he was like, no, Rick belongs to Vancouver Canucks. And I was like, no, he's a
former Canuck. We drafted him, we own him. So
I said, no, Rick is a Leaf.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't even last a year there. I got traded in February of my first year to Toronto, and it was Harry Neal that traded me because our GM was in the hospital, and he kind of took over that role. And it's funny because I remember there was no apartments available in Vancouver when I went there. So I lived with Glenn Hanlon in Burnaby, or wherever it was. Not Burnaby, whatever. I can't remember the name of the town. And then we finally got an apartment, my roommate and I, and it was in the building that was next door to Harry's building. So we had a little apartment warming party, I guess you would say. And so the next morning at about 6 in the morning, my phone rings, and I'm thinking, we don't even have our phone hooked up, but why is my phone ringing? So I picked it up, and on the other end it said, Rick, it's Harry Neal. Would you open the door to the apartment complex? So I pushed the button that I thought was the one that opened the door. Obviously, I pushed the wrong button. And because I thought they were just pranking me. And then second call, and then I realized it was Harry, so I pushed the button, and again I pushed the wrong button. And then the third call, and he said, Rick, just come downstairs. So I went downstairs, and he told me, this was 6 o'clock in the morning, and he said, we just traded you to Toronto. And I had to get a 1 o'clock flight to Toronto and stayed there that night. And then we went to Long Island because they were on the road. So Billy and I flew to Toronto. His wife dropped us off at the airport. We drove there, or flew there, and then flew to Long Island the next day. So, but when Harry called, we were running around putting all the beer bottles in the cupboards and everything, and all that, so that when he came up, he wouldn't see them.
How
What was your
challenging was this for your wife as a wife of a key hockey player in a big town? How did she handle it?
Well, we weren't married when I was in Vancouver, but then I got traded to Chicago, and then I got traded from Chicago to Buffalo the day after Christmas. And her parents were in town from Prince Edward Island for the holidays. She was pregnant. We had a 2-year-old, and I had to leave at 1 o'clock on a flight that day. I was supposed to play in Buffalo, but I didn't make it because it was a snowstorm. And I didn't see them until February 4th. So that was very difficult. She had to do everything on her end. I mean, it's a lot different now. They do everything for you, but she had to get the realtors, she had to get the movers and all that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit difficult. And of course, not seeing them until February 4th wasn't great either.
for your first year in Toronto? I remember this. I remember watching it on the news. The Leafs signed Stan's friend and 40-year-old defenseman Carl Brewer. Do you remember that? Him
Mm-hmm.
coming in halfway through the year and 40-year-old defenseman. What did you think of that at the time, and
Yeah.
and how did he mix in with the guys?
Well, first of all, he was a great skater, so he was still one of the fastest guys on the ice. But a lot of the guys thought that he was Harold's guy that would tell him all kinds of things that happened and all that. I didn't think it was, but nonetheless, everybody thought that. And I remember Ian Turnbull one practice ran him into the net, and he hit his head on the goalpost and cut his head open, and there was actually skin on the goalpost from his head.
Oh man.
Kind of crazy.
We were discussing the coaches. Berube got fired from the Leafs. Who do you think should be the next Maple Leafs coach?
Me? No, I'm just kidding.
You can start on Monday.
You know what? I think the biggest thing they have to do is they got to match the coach to the type of team they have. And they didn't have that with Craig Berube. He wanted to play a style where you get in on the forecheck, finish checks and all that. Well, they don't have that type of team. So they have to fit a coach to the type of team they have. And I think that's probably what they're trying to do, but who knows? I mean, there's so many names that have been thrown around to be the new coach, and it's just kind of crazy. They asked to speak to Bruce Cassidy, and Vegas would not allow them to. And and then the other guy got fired in Edmonton, Knobloch, as well. So they've been trying to get Cassidy, and Vegas just said, no, you're not talking to him. And it was, which, I mean, I understand it because he's under contract still, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why would you hold him back? I mean, and if he signs with another team, then depending on how much he signs for, then they're not on the hook for his entire contract. So
how did you like coaching?
Benefit
were you a good coach?
Yeah, I was a great coach. The one thing I did as a coach was when I was in Charleston, South Carolina, I picked 3 guys every day that I was going to have a conversation with, and wasn't necessarily about hockey. in particular. Like we supplied the apartments for the players. So if someone had a wife or a girlfriend, I would always say, is everything okay? Is she happy with the apartment? Is there anything I can do to make things better? And, that was kind of the approach I took to make them feel like, okay, he cares about us. And that was my biggest thing, was that I wanted the players to know that I did care about them. And so it worked. I mean, the players were fantastic. I mean, we won a championship one year, and we made the playoffs all 5 years that I was there. So obviously it worked.
How different was it in Dixie? You were in the heart of the South. How did the fans take to the game when you were coaching there?
We had great crowds in Charleston. It was unbelievable. And then when we won the championship, it was in Louisiana, and we bussed home after. And no, we stopped on the way home, and then we didn't get home until the next day. There was 7,000 fans in the rink when we pulled into the rink.
Wow.
So that's how good it was.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy there, but the fans loved the game, and then of course 5 years I was there, and then Rick Aduno was my assistant, and then he took over as head coach, and Jared Bednar was his assistant, and then Jared took over as a head coach later on. Then he went to the American League, and now he's with the Colorado Rock Avalanche.
Do you still play hockey?
I still play a lot. Yeah, I play about 50, 60 games a year. Different charity tournaments, our alumni games. I play them all. So, yeah, probably 50 to 60 games a year. And I still love playing. So, I mean, even at my age, I don't, I don't get sore. It doesn't bother me. So, and I can still score goals. So why not play?
Hey, Rick, do you back check anymore, or did you give that up at a certain age?
No, I don't back check anymore. That's kind of I just cover my point man, and that's it. And then if we get a hold of the puck, I'm gone and looking for the stretch pass.
I remember you having an absolutely wicked slap shot. So, is it frustrating for you playing those games that you can't wind up and let one rip?
No, well, I mean, I don't use the same wooden sticks, so the new sticks are quite a bit different, and taking a slap shot with those probably isn't the best thing anyway. So just a wrister, snapshot, whatever. Because when I had that slap shot, I had that big Titan that weighed about 11 or 12 pounds, and it was solid and it never broke. But I think if I tried it with these sticks, I think I'd probably break quite a few.
Rick would definitely score on you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Who would you consider the greatest goalie that you faced when you were playing in the NHL?
I probably Patrick Waugh, I would think. And ironically, I scored my 400th goal against him. So that was kind of nice that I was able to score that against Patrick Waugh. But he had my number most of the time. But I got a few on him, and of course the 400th was pretty big, so that was good.
Who was the toughest defenseman ever play against?
They were all tough to play against. I mean, back then the game was so different. I mean, they could hook you all the way down the ice, cross-check you in front of the net. They could do whatever they wanted, slash you, whatever, and there hardly ever was there a penalty called. I remember when I was in Buffalo, we played Montreal in a 6-game series in the playoffs, and I was always in front of the net in the power play, and I had Chelios on one side and Ludwig on the other side. So if the puck went over there, Ludwig would come in and cross-check me, and then if it went over on that side, Chelios would come in and cross-check me. And at the same time, Patrick Roy would be whacking me in the back of the leg with his goalie stick. So, and I looked at the referee, and he goes, "Nope, no penalty."
Can you tell us? Like, I almost hate to bring this up, but apparently playing against Edmonton, you got into a chirp fest with Glenn Sather, and Sather sent Semenko out to take you out. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a face-off right beside their bench, and of course I'm the right winger, so I'm right beside the boards, and he started chirping at me, and I told him to shut up and several times, and then he said, "I'm going to send Semenko after you," so he did, and I was back checking on Semenko, and it was offside, and we turned, and he suckered me and knocked me out, and we were in Winnipeg, I think the next night or 2 nights later, and I didn't go to Winnipeg because I had about 6 feet of cotton batting up each nostril from a broken nose, and but then we came back to Edmonton, play them again, and the same thing happened. And then he said, "I'm going to send Semenko after you," and I said, "Go ahead. He already knocked me out once. What's one more time?" So he sends him out, and I got the puck against the boards, and I see him coming, and he's coming pretty hard. So I get out of the way at the last second, and he hits the boards, and he falls. And he didn't wear a helmet, so I gave him a little smack in the head and cut him open a little bit. And then I leaned down and I said, "If you ever do that again, I'll cut your head off next time." And I'm thinking, okay, he has no idea what I'm capable of doing. And he never came near me the rest of my career. It never bothered me. So it worked.
How difficult was it to write a book?
Actually, it wasn't that bad. Scotty Morrison was fantastic. We talked on the phone pretty much every second day for about a month, and I mean, he did all the heavy lifting. I mean, all I had to do was talk to him on the phone and fill him in on everything, and then he did the writing.
What is it about number 22 that you like so much? And then when you got to Toronto, Tiger Williams was 22, so he was very, very popular in Toronto. Did you have any reticence about taking the number?
No, I wore it in midget, tier 2 junior, and I wore it in junior in Sherbrooke. I love the number, and he got traded for me to Vancouver, and I wore 20 first because we were on the road. And when we got back home, I asked him if I could get 22 because I love the number, wore it for quite a few years, and I figured, why not? I didn't worry about Tiger Williams or anything like that, or him wearing that number. I know he was a popular guy in Toronto, but that didn't bother me one bit.
What advice would you give to young players trying to handle the pressure, criticism, expectations in Toronto or anywhere else?
I think the biggest thing is just go out and do your job. Go out and do what you need to do, whatever your role is. I mean, you got bottom 6 forwards, you got top 6 forwards. If you're top 6, you're probably there to score goals, make plays. If you're bottom 6, you're there to check and play physical. And so whatever your role is, just go out and do what's expected of you, and obviously listen to what the coach tells you that he wants you to do, and just go out and do it. I mean, it's, there's a lot of young guys coming into the league now that are like 18, 19. When I played, the draft was 20. Now you got 18-year-olds coming in to play in the National Hockey League. So, I mean, you've got to be ready for it, and you just have to go out and be the best possible version of yourself every day.
What is your, I'm sorry, what is your memory of the great Islander teams who you played against? Do you have any particular player you remember most?
No, they were very good. They were, we played them one playoff round. It was a best of 3, and we lost 2 straight. But the one thing I do remember about Long Island was I loved that building because I scored every single time we played there. Whether it was Billy Smith, Chico Resch, didn't matter. I always scored.
They had a pretty good coach in Al Arbor. He's a guy who hung around a long time. Everybody loved him.
Well, they had a hell of a team. I mean, Mike Bossy. I played against him in junior. He played in Laval, but he was probably the best goal scorer in the NHL, maybe in the history of the NHL. He was just, he could score goals like crazy, and I think he was probably the best goal scorer that maybe ever played the NHL. Pure goal scorer.
When I first started playing ice hockey, I was 18, and a word of advice that I got from one of my defensemen was just play like Mike Palmateer, just balls out. And what was it like playing with the real Mike Palmateer?
It was pretty cool. It was Mike was a pretty funny guy, and I played with him twice actually, because he got traded to Washington and they traded him back to Toronto. So I played with him twice. I think the funniest thing I remember about Palmy is Yuri Sira came in as one of our goalies, and he's from Czechoslovakia or Russia, wherever he was from. And the coach told him that he was going to play the second half of the game. So it was roughly right about 10 minutes into the second period, and Palmateer came to the bench for a delayed penalty, and he started climbing over the boards, grabbing his gear and getting ready to, he thought they were changing on the fly.
We talked about the draft, so the Maple Leafs won the number 1 pick. Do you think they're going to go with McKenna, or do you think they'll trade the pick? And what's actually the smart move for them? What would you do?
Well, I think that what they should do is trade down to 4 or 5 and get some draft picks from that team and maybe even some young players, and then take a puck moving defenseman at 4 or 5, because there are 3 or 4 defensemen that are really good puck moving defensemen that are sitting in the 4, 5, 6 range. And that's what I would do. Because they don't have one of those type of players. They don't have a Lane Hudson or one of those type of players on the blue line. So, if I was running it, that's probably what I would do.
What was it like to play in the Montreal Forum when the Canadians were really good? What was the atmosphere like?
Pretty crazy. It was loud. Probably not as loud as the Bell Center is now, but nonetheless. And I played there in junior. They had a junior team in Montreal, and they played in the Montreal Forum as well. And so I remember my dad coming up a few times, and but he was a Habs fan because he was from Gatineau, and diehard Habs fan. So whenever he came up to watch us play, I think he was hoping that I'd score 2 goals and we'd lose.
And yeah, it probably was hard for your dad to watch you play for the Leafs against the Habs.
Yeah, I don't think he did. Well, and the funny thing was, whenever he came to a game, he never sat in his seat. He always went into the hot stove and just sat there and drank and watched the game on TV. So at the end of the game, you go to the wives' room and he'd be 3/4 hammered, and it wasn't the greatest thing in the world to go down there and see that. But I mean, it is what it is.
What was it like to play against Gordie Howe? Elbows and all.
Well, that was my introduction to Gordie Howe when I played in Birmingham. We played the Whalers, and John Brophy used to use me to take faceoffs in our zone if we were like up a goal or something on the right-hand side, because I played center before I played right wing. So I win the faceoff, we throw it off the glass, and I race down the ice and I beat out the icing. I come around the net and I turn to put it in the empty net because they had pulled their goalie. And the next thing I know, I'm on the ice and I'm crawling to the bench. And I didn't realize what happened until the next day. I looked at the video and it was Gordie Howe coming by me, and he just put his elbow up and hit me in the back of the head. And I just went ass over tea kettle, and was on the ice, and I started crawling to the bench. So that was my introduction to Gordie Howe.
Did you ever try to get even with him?
No, that wouldn't have been a smart thing to do.
When you were playing in Sherbrooke, Richard Sevigny was one of your goalies, and then he ended up playing in Montreal. Did you ever get a chance to play against him?
Yes, I did. Played against him several times, and I'm not sure if I scored against him or not. I probably scored a couple against him, because I played against him for, I think, 5 years or 6 years when he was in Montreal. So I must have scored a few goals against him.
Did you chirp him?
No. I mean, he was my teammate in junior. He was a good guy, and I wasn't going to do anything like that.
Guys I played against that I knew they would chirp. They would let me know they scored.
Which player was the best at chirping ever that you ever played with?
Trying to think, probably Ian Turnbull probably was the best. Big defenseman. He wasn't worried about getting in a fight or anything, so he loved to chirp, and he was very good at it.
Like Sean Avery said in his book, chirping is all about getting under a player's skin.
Yeah, well, I think he was probably one of the best at it ever in the National Hockey League. He was just a nuisance, complete nuisance.
So you got to play in the Memorial Cup one year, and the New Westminster Bruins ended up. Yeah, it was in Vancouver. That's right. And the New West Bruins ended up winning a legendary coach, Ernie Punch McLean, who just passed away in this past week. What can you tell us? What were your memories of that Memorial Cup?
Well, we never won a game, but actually it was Ottawa that won it. It wasn't New West. It was Ottawa that won it that year. 67s. They had Doug Wilson. Who's the guy that Bobby Smith? They had a real good team, and actually they beat New West in the final.
What was it like for a guy from a small area come to New York City and play at Madison Square Garden? How special was that?
I hated New York City. When we stayed there overnight, the hotel, you could hear so much noise outside. It was incredible. Good luck trying to fall asleep, because sirens and the big garbage things in the alley outside the hotel, and they'd be banging all night. And I hated going to New York City, but playing at the Gardens was pretty special. It was a pretty special place to play. Knowing the history of that building and everything, it was awesome. Except walk up to the dressing room, because when you got there, you had to walk up the ramp all the way up to the dressing rooms because the rink was like probably on the third or fourth story, and you had to walk up the ramp all the way up. That wasn't fun.
The ramp is still there.
Yeah.
The ramp,
Yeah.
the ramp usually gave the Rangers one goal extra in any game. That ramp. The ramp was combined with an elevator that was from the 10th century. So between the two, you had to walk up the ramp. That's the way it was, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Rick, are you watching the playoffs right now? Who is the team that you cheering for?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see Montreal beat Buffalo, even though I played in Buffalo, because I coached Marty St. Louis for 2 years in St. John in the American League, and he's just a great person. He was the hardest working guy, every practice, every game. So I'd love to see them move on. But at the end of the day, I really hope Colorado wins the Stanley Cup because Jared Bednar, their coach, played for me in Charleston. I actually made a trade for him and another guy, and that was the year we won the championship. And he's just such a great person and a good coach, obviously. And so I would love to see them win the Stanley Cup.
Do you think Vegas is going to be a threat to the Avalanche?
Well, I mean, it's probably going to be a close series. I would imagine it'll go 6 or 7, but I'm just hoping that Colorado can win because I mean they have such a great team and they're big. They play extremely hard and they're fast. So I mean, I think Vegas will have a tough time with Colorado. I really do. I mean, playing against the Ducks, the Ducks have a fast team and a lot of young players, but Colorado are really well put together team.
My money is on Vegas, 6 games, and the reason being that your guy is going to be out-coached by my guy, Tortorella. That's my prediction. So when you come back in a couple of weeks, we'll see who's right. Got to go right.
Well, yeah, Tortorella was my assistant coach in Buffalo. Rick and Tortorella was the assistant. He was okay as an assistant because he didn't say hardly anything. Now, as a head coach, he has a lot to say, and he does a lot of crazy things. But I don't know. I mean, I just hope.
I think it's
Colorado.
I think it's going to come down to Cale Makar. I think Cale Makar puts Colorado over the top. As Vegas doesn't have that stud defenseman anymore since Peter Angelo's not there. So, I think that's right. Yeah. As Stan would put it, that's the unseen hand. And so, I think that puts Colorado over the top. But,
yeah.
I do like the way Torts brings out the best in Marner. Look at him. He's playing like an absolute playoff beast right now.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't do anything in Toronto in the playoffs, but for some reason he seems to be playing a little freer and what have you in Vegas. And he's having a heck of a playoff.
Do you think it's Torts?
Good for him. I'm happy.
It may be. It also
I don't think so.
It may be that his Toronto line mates were not good for him.
I think it was more like in the playoffs. He never really did what he's doing in Vegas because he couldn't handle the pressure of playing in Toronto. So I think going to Vegas, I think he's playing a lot freer. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's having success.
Mave, do you want to close the show with the joke? Do you have one for us?
Can I just say one more thing? Rick, I I think it's an absolute travesty that the Leafs have not retired your number. Um, being the first 50 goal scorer, doing it 3 times, being the being the face of that team for so many years, and I think it's just because the time that you played, the Leafs just had a terrible team, and so I'm hoping
Yeah,
for the
well,
day
we,
that
we
your
didn't
number.
have a great team, that's for sure. That would be awesome. I mean, it would, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I totally agree with you. I mean, you look at some of them that are up there, they never did the types of things that I did when I played there. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't have control over that. And if they decide to do it, that'd be fantastic. Get my family there and maybe even my grandkids and that sort of thing, and have a real nice evening on the ice. And I think that'd be fantastic.
I'll tell you what you need. And Jerry is right. This is a wrong that has to be made right. But you need a press agent, meaning somebody to get behind this and round up enough people, and then you wake these guys up who run the damn team and say, look, you want to do something nice? Here's a guy who deserves to have this adulation and have the thing up there for what he's done. But you got to have, and you know something, Alena, you should get on this thing right now. No, don't give me a smile. This should
I'm on
be,
it.
no, you're on. You're not alone. The three of us should get after them. You
I
come
agree.
back in a month and
Yeah.
we'll give you a report. And if it's not a good report, we dissolve the show. Okay? That's it. That's the end of my joke. Okay? There's no joke. This is serious stuff. No laughing, no laughing. Okay? And you're a witness, right? Mr. Vaive, you're a witness. You got to get after us in a month.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you for joining us today. And thanks to everyone watching and listening to Bottle Rocket. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us for more hockey conversations and interviews. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much,
Former
guys.
Canuck.
Yeah.
Great to
Canuck,
see you,
let's
Rick.
ride.
Great
Thank
to
you.
see you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.